Hello, this is Kat Lloyd, Paw Pals TV. I hope you guys are doing well. Last August, I received a plea from Mr. Elwin Thetford about his little dog named Susie, who was euthanized by Smith County before he could claim.
I got her as a puppy and took her to get all of the shots she needed. And then after 7 years of her loving me and my loving her, I had her leased to this area near the fence and working on my lawnmower. I didn't realize she got loose, but someone called the county. They came and picked her up about noon on Wednesday. The next day I went to the shelter expecting to find her.
Right.
They didn't know anything about it. And after a while, she said she's been euthanized. Why? Did she bite anyone? No, she didn't bite anyone.
What would you like to happen?
I'd like for them to be forced to cage the dogs and wait for someone to claim them.
After Mr. Thetford and I filmed, and he made his plea for Smith County to pass a mandatory 72-hour hold of lost and stray pets, I immediately contacted our local judge for help. And he facilitated a meeting with the shelter manager that was over the shelter at the time when Susie was euthanized. Unfortunately, I received a phone call from the family that Mr. Thetford was in the hospital, and then the worst thing happened. I attended Mr. Thetford's funeral, and I have to tell you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I will not rest until we change things, not only in Smith County, but in the state of Texas. Our animals sometimes are our only friends. I make an oath to you and your family and your friends, Susie's death will not go in vain.
I took an oath that this would never happen again. So I called the shelter manager and sat down and spoke to her. Now, a lot of people want to hate her, but I have to tell you, and this is the honest truth, as she was telling me what was going on and what had happened, and Mr. Thetford sat in front of her, and she started crying, and she told me that she had resigned, my heart went out to her. I realized she is not the problem. The ordinance is the problem, or the lack of ordinance with a mandatory 72-hour hold. But we traveled to Austin, and during our Austin trip, found out a couple of things. Let's take a look.
So right now you don't have the mandatory hold. How long are you holding?
We do hold them for 72 hours, but if
But it's
they're
not codified.
aggressive or sick, we do not hold them. So we automatically euthanize right
But
now.
aggressive could be growling at the time of pickup.
If it attempts to try to bite the officer,
It could
then
be
we put them
scared.
It
down.
could be scared. 90% of all the animals will be put down if that's the case.
Yep.
After the meeting, we took a quick tour of the Austin Animal Center because I wanted to show you guys what happens when the community comes together with our officials, our county and our city officials, and we tell them we want a right to rescue. And that's exactly what happened in Austin. So let's take a quick look real quick.
Good afternoon, I'm Don Bland with the Austin Animal Services here at the shelter, and I'm going to give you all a quick tour of our facility. In our lobby we have so many people that come in, it has to be expansive. You see that we have like 9 adoption stations, and one of the things that we're in the process of doing is we have Surface Pro, so some of these adoption stations will actually be out in the kennels with the people. So you'll actually be able to process an adoption out in the kennel, and you won't have to come back in here to do that. We have kennels that are a couple of in here that can highlight some specific dogs. You know, through the years, we've had to make some changes here. We have rabbits and guinea pigs up here, and you'll see when we go into the cat room, it says bunnies in there, but we found out we have more cats than bunnies, and so they had to make a few switches through the years. But you'll see it's not a bad place to live. This is the area that you come out to go and find a pet. Now, we're going to come back through the cat section later. We're going to go see some dog kennels first, but we have a small play area right here You're going to see our Smallville with the small dogs is on the other side of this, so they can come out here and interact with the small dogs and let them burn off some energy. And we're in the process of adding another small dog section because it's not always about the big dogs. We have 4 pens out here that can be visiting pens. So if you want to take out a dog out and you want to interact with it, you can actually come into these pens and sit here and visit with the dog. And you don't have to worry about it, getting off or getting away from you or being bothered. So those are just some little visitation pens. It's windy today, or we have these big, huge umbrellas that open up, and they're double-sided to give extra shade so when people are out here that they can spend some time out with the animals also. Come on in. We have 2 buildings like these that are our suite rooms. So these are rooms that multiple dogs can live in that get along, and it gives them some more space. Some of the larger dogs, dogs that do well together, some dogs that maybe it's a senior dog that needs a little more space to move around in. But these are areas that are not your typical one-on-one kennel. All of them have inside-outside capabilities. There's an outside area that they can go out of with AstroTurf out there. We use these little swing doors that shut after they go through. Now on a pretty day like this, a lot of times they we'll just leave one open so get some fresh air, but it controls the climate better. This building is solar-powered buildings, so we try to be as green as possible. They designed this, to be open, to be airy, to be, inviting. The cute structures mirror what's hanging in the lobby also. And there's another unit that's just like this next to us. And if you listen, you can actually hear music in here too.
I have heard a study on that, and
Yeah.
It calms them down.
Yeah,
It does.
calms them down.
It does. Now we do have some groups that we work with. We have Friends of the Austin Animal Center. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that they raise funds specifically to help us. So there's a project that they're working on right now that they're going to be actually funding an ad in the local paper each week for a whole year. You saw the whiteboards in there to keep up with how dogs were being walked and everything. Well, they've developed an app for your phone. Someone can come in, pull up their phone, and show that they walk this dog, any notes, so it's all being captured electronically, and they're actually doing it and developing it themselves. It was their ideal because they do walk so many dogs for us too. We have great volunteers here that walk lots of dogs, and some of them people are here 6 days a week. We're actually in the process of making some major improvements too. This area is one of the playpens that's getting reworked. These temporary shade structures are being replaced with some permanent ones. You'll see what they're going to look like in a moment when we show some of those. Any dog here that has a green dot on it, any customer can walk in without any assistance, grab a leash, and take any of them out without talking to anyone. One of the other things that we do is if you see a dog that you're interested in, you just text on your phone, and it gets put in a queue, and so you can get assistance, and then you're in line to work with a counselor for the adoption process too. So you don't actually have to physically go up there and say, hey, who's next? You actually text on your phone, and it puts you in the system, and it sends you back notification. Somebody will be with you in a moment. So it's a really neat system. And when you deal, with 274 adopters over a 3-day period, you need things like this. There's a gate back here on this fence with a keypad, so volunteers, in the front there's entrances and there's a back entrance for this parking lot back here. So volunteers have access to come in here. Even though we close at 7 p.m. at night, volunteers will stay here till 10:30 at night walking dogs. So we don't run them out at 7 o'clock. They have, they're trained, they're trusted, and we give them the codes to the gates, and they have their own entrances so they can come and go. And so, volunteers being able to come after work and walk dogs is something that benefits us, it benefits them, and it definitely benefits the dogs.
Now, this is not the entire tour. This is just a little bit. You can come back and watch more parts next week. We literally filmed for 5 hours. There's so much going on there. They've taken 16,000 animals a year, from chickens to bunnies to peacocks to boas, of course, cats and dogs. It's about a community coming together and saying that they want to value the life of every pet because the citizens value the life of every animal. Now watch next week when we do part 4 of Justice for Susie. After Hurricane Harvey devastated South Texas, we traveled to Matagorda County to cover the stories. During our time there, I made friends. Matagorda County, they do not have a shelter, so we started talking about, what if we help you guys build a shelter? And they loved the idea. So I've met with them a couple of times, and I gave them one thing that I needed: pass a spay-neuter microchip ordinance, and we're in. One of the things that they do to make sure that the pets stay with the families is they provide the best that they can, the services that they can, but they will give them collars and leashes in case the dogs are getting out, and they're out. So I need your help. On the screen, I have their address. Please, if you want to donate some collars and some leashes, you've got the address. You can send it directly to the Matagorda County Animal Control in attention to Max Cruz. Or you can call him. He says he welcomes your phone calls, and you guys can make arrangements so that, of how to get those collars and leashes to them. Or you can go to PayPal under the Paw Pals TV Pet Project, and if you want to donate, we'll give it 100% to them. Okay, so I received a plea from a friend on Facebook regarding a little dog named Tinker. Tinker is 9 months old. She was abandoned there in Edgewood. What we need is a rescue. It just happens that Tinker appears to be pregnant, and she's only 9 months old. I'd like to pledge $50 to the rescue who helps Tinker. Contact me, or you can contact Emily and make arrangements. So this past week, I was going through Facebook when I saw a plea for 3 dogs that were being kept, I guess, in an empty lot. So I spoke to a Rusk County sheriff who told me what was really going on. Happens that the family 4 months ago had a fire in their house. Their house burnt down. This is a horrible situation. We want to be part of the solution. So I've offered them to please contact me should they need anything, whether they need boarding, whether they need vetting. I want to be there to help them, not to judge them. I thank you guys for watching. Watch next week when we do part 4 of Justice for Susie. I hate to tell you guys, but you guys are going to see part 4, part 5, part 6, part whatever, how long it takes until the ordinance is passed for a mandatory 72-hour hold of all lost and stray pets in Smith County. I do want to thank our county judge for putting it into practice, but we better vote that man back in, and I hope to God that he wants to continue, because without him, we won't have that. This is Kat Lloyd with Paw Pals TV. Remember, spay, neuter, microchip, be kind to your animals. And if you have a problem, call us. We'll see you guys next week.
I have a full interview with him where he tells me how hard this is for him.
I'd like for them to be forced to cage the dogs and wait for someone to claim them.